Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jones, I see that you joined the organization Gun Owners of America in 2025. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator, that's correct.
My staff has learned that Gun Owners of America has criticized the National Rifle Association as being too moderate, proudly claiming that it's, quote, the only no-compromise gun lobby, and has taken extreme positions on firearm safety. For example, the group you joined has called for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives to be abolished, and its former executive director claimed that, quote, all gun laws are unconstitutional. Why did you join Gun Owners of America?
Mr. Ranking Member Durbin, I simply joined that organization. And again, I'm nothing other than a low level, the lowest level of membership. I'm a longtime firearms owner. It was nothing more than I saw them as a general advocacy group. I can assure the court, however, I'm aware that I can assure the committee, however, that while I'm aware that they often engage or occasionally engage in litigation on matters, if I were so lucky to be confirmed, I would resign my membership in that organization because I believe I would be required to do so under the.
Do you share the Gun Owners of America view that the Second Amendment renders all gun laws unconstitutional?
Senator, respectfully, I think if I were to answer that question, it could involve both a political question and something that could come before.
But here's where we start, Mr. Jones. You voluntarily joined this organization with radical views, and now that is part of your biography before this committee. If you want to make it clear that you now have changed your views or explain why you joined the organization, here's your chance. But to duck it and say, I don't have to comment on this, is to leave us with the conclusion you agree with them.
Senator Durbin, I don't believe I'm ducking it. I don't believe, first of all, it's with the characterization of it being radical, but I would say that I don't believe as a nominee would somebody, if I were to be confirmed, cases that could come before me on the bench could involve issues involving the Second Amendment. I don't believe it would be appropriate for me in this hearing to comment on my view of the Second Amendment and what I believe it entails on those types of issues. I think that would be inappropriate as a judicial nominee.
So you say that their position that all gun laws are unconstitutional is not radical?
And again, Senator, I would say it would be improper for me to opine on something like that since matters could come before me. But I would say that for most organizations, just because someone joins one doesn't mean they necessarily agree with everything that someone in the organization may say later on or at some point.
Mr. Hendershot, if you're confirmed to the district court and issue a decision, would the parties before you be required to comply with your decisions and any orders you and the district court may issue?
Senator, that would be my expectation, short of things such as a stay or an appeal, of course, that could put those sorts of things on ice. That would be my expectation.
But once that process has been exhausted, appeals or whatever, do you expect the parties to follow the orders of the court?
I would expect that, Senator.
I ask because between 2021 and 2023, you defended Ohio's state legislative and congressional maps in court. The Ohio Supreme Court ruled 5 times that the state legislative maps violated the state constitution. It also struck down the state's congressional maps twice. If you are confirmed to the district court, will you condone or permit that kind of repeated resistance to court orders that the Ohio Redistricting Commission engaged in?
Well, Senator, as my colleague mentioned, I think the judicial canons certainly apply to us here as nominees, and I think to engage with a hypothetical about, for example, a map or something like that would be inside the space that the canons fence off. So I'm happy to talk about my role.
You believe it's arguable as to whether or not a party is bound by a court order?
No, Senator, I don't think that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is my understanding of the canons, the way I take them to bind me here, is to not prejudge a case other than talking about issues at a high level of generality. Otherwise, it's to prejudge a case that may be pending or impending before.
This is just the opposite. You weren't prejudging. You were representing a client who was resisting a court order. And it says the Supreme Court of your state ruled 5 times that the maps violated the state constitution and had to rule the state's congressional maps twice. It would seem to me that as a judge, you would expect a lawful order to be followed. Is that correct?
Yes, and I do expect lawful orders to be followed. If you want, I'm distinguishing between the hypothetical that I took you to be asking about and my role representing certain members of the Ohio Redistricting Commission. I will note that there was 7 members of that separately represented. As that litigation went on, there was even further separation of the representation, and including that I ended up not representing the members for the entire time of the litigation you described.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.